an act of terror. That's what the president is calling an assault on two National Guardsmen in the nation's capital. So the two soldiers remain in critical condition this morning after police say they were both shot at point-blank range, just blocks away from the White House.
We saw one National Guardsman being wheeled out on a stretcher, and he had a device helping pump his heart, it looked like, doing automatic like CPR, and his face was covered in blood.
The 29-year-old suspect was tackled at the scene after a brief exchange of gunfire. Law enforcement say he came to the U.S. from Afghanistan about 4 years ago. In response, the president vows to crack down on immigration even further.
We're not going to put up with these kind of assaults on law and order by people who shouldn't even be in our country. We must now re-examine every single alien who has entered our country from Afghanistan under Biden, and we must take all necessary measures to ensure the removal of any alien from any country who does not belong here or add benefit to our country. If they can't love our country, we don't want them.
We've got CNN senior White House reporter Betsy Klein here now. Betsy, we heard the president basically condemning this as an act of terror, but also expanding his concerns to immigration more broadly. I think he brought up Somalia at one point. Can you talk about what the plans are out of the White House?
Right, Audie, just a really horrific day here in Washington, and the Department of Homeland Security has identified Rahmanullah Lakhanwal as the suspect in the shooting of these two National Guardsmen. Lakhanwal is an Afghan national. He came to the United States in 2021 under Operation Allies Welcome. To remind you, that's the Biden-era program that resettled those Afghan nationals in the wake of the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan. He applied for asylum in 2024, and it was granted by the Trump administration in April of this year. He is in custody at an area hospital after being shot. Now, one source tells CNN that this suspect is not cooperating with investigators. We still do not know the motive. We do not know how the suspect got this handgun that he used. We also do not know the full extent of the suspect's injuries at this time. But we do expect to hear more on where this investigation stands from D.C. U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro, as well as FBI Director Kash Patel a little later this morning. President Trump, meanwhile, addressing the nation from Mar-a-Lago last night, he cast blame on the Biden administration for letting the suspect into the country. He called for the re-examination of every person who entered the U.S. from Afghanistan during the last administration. Of course, CNN had reported earlier this week that that process was already underway. Listen to the president.
The suspect in custody is a foreigner who entered our country from Afghanistan, a hellhole on earth. He was flown in by the Biden administration in September 2021. This attack underscores the single greatest national security threat facing our nation. The last administration let in 20 million unknown and unvetted foreigners from all over the world, from places that you don't want to even know about.
Now, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services have announced moments later that all Afghan immigrant cases are stopping indefinitely, pending further review. And I also just want to remind you why these West Virginia Guardsmen were here. They have been deployed in Washington since August as part of the president's crime crackdown. That is expected to continue until at least February. President Trump also announced he would be deploying 500 more National Guards members to Washington, D.C. in response to this horrific shooting.
Okay, Betsy, thanks so much for that update. I'm going to turn a little bit to the investigation. The FBI is going to be spearheading it, and it's being called an attack on federal law enforcement. So we've got CNN law enforcement analyst Jonathan Wackrow here now to talk about how this will unfold. Jonathan, thanks for being here with us this morning. I want to start with what they're going to be looking for from the suspect. As we mentioned, they're an Afghan national believed to have come in under one of the various asylum programs, which did include vetting. So there's documentation, right, to go and look and learn about this suspect.
Yes. Good morning, Audie. Yes, the suspect came to the United States in 21, and that's the starting point for investigators, right? Like understanding what happened during that vetting process, how detailed and what was the rigor of the information that they were reviewing at that time. But just the fact that he came in under the U.S. Seeking U.S. asylum in 21, it's a relevant fact, but it's actually not the motive. And right now, what investigators are trying to do is actually ask a couple key questions. Most notably, was this a symbolic targeting of the military or some sort of anti-government movement, or was this just rooted in some type of personal grievance? And the way that they're going to do that is the same way that they take any type of shooting situation, is they work backwards. They start looking at all known associates, family members. They start doing a digital trace and looking, combing through the digital exhaust of this individual. Was he connected to other people who had or exhibited animus towards the United States? Was this part of some sort of ideological movement? Again, that's where we may see a nexus to terrorism. We have not seen that yet, and we have not intimated that that is the case, but that is what investigators are looking for. And they're going to look through this link analysis of these associates and contacts to really piece together this mosaic of data to come to a determination of what is the motive. Now, we know that the suspect is not cooperating, but there are a lot of investigative tools and techniques that are at the FBI's disposal to get to, directionally what that motive may be.
The Trump administration now ordering another 500 National Guardsmen into the city. One thing we've been looking at today is that in the legal challenge process, there was a National Guard memo that had revealed some concerns about the deployment that commanders originally had, where they were basically saying this mission is kind of an opportunity for criminals or violent extremists or lone actors to advance their interests. They were saying that the Guardsmen themselves are sort of high visible and potential targets. Can you talk about that from a law enforcement perspective?
Yeah, absolutely. And, I had mentioned this yesterday in the aftermath of the tragic incident, but right now we've seen a shift. And what I said is that, I believe that we've hit the point of marginal utility, especially in Washington, D.C., with the benefit of the National Guard. And what I mean by that is, they are on site to provide a visual deterrent, to show that visible force of surging law enforcement within the National Capital Region. But now it has shifted. We've heard from government officials say that these guardsmen were targeted directly. If that is the case, adding 500 more to the area just increases the potential targeting of these National Guard members. Now, you do have to address this crime and broader criminal acts throughout the area. I'd rather see more law enforcement than more soldiers put at risk in a mission that may be a little bit undefined for them.
Okay, Jonathan Wackrow, thanks so much. Thanks for being with us.